Hi all, welcome to caia Level 1 for the September 2020 paper. As we've mentioned many times before, and I'm sure you guys are aware of September 2020 for Level 1 is the first time that caia, I don't know how long, my sense is 2 to 3, maybe even a bit longer than that, years, has changed the syllabus. Up until now it's been quite similar, and they've always been working with the third edition of the textbook. They've updated that textbook now. They're working now with the fourth edition. So just very important to remember, and I'll go through all the changes with you guys. Very important to remember, guys, that for those that are repeating it or those that have seen it one time and perhaps didn't write in March 2020, this previous writing for whatever reason, and now writing in September, it's a new syllabus. Very important just to notice, of course, when we say it's a new syllabus, what does that mean? Okay, I always tell the guys that a new syllabus in alternative investments still means it's alternative investments. So to a large extent, it's still going to be alternative investments. The topics are predominantly the same. Some are in, some are out. What they have done as well, they've moved some topics across to caia Level 2. Okay. Put some in from caia Level 2 into Level 1. But essentially, guys, if you have seen the syllabus one time already, you're in a very good position. Obviously, you just have to work with the new syllabus, which we're going to provide to you, but just make sure that you work with the new syllabus. But essentially, you've seen alternative investments. Okay. And other than that, and I'll go through all the changes as we go through. I'll show you what's in, I'll show you what's out. But just be a little bit careful as you go through. A lot of the stuff is some of the weightings have changed, the exam weightings have changed, as well as some topics that were previously in or out, and so we'll just have to have a look at those as we go through. But if we just start off as a basic introduction, for those that have seen it one time before, it's fairly basic. Those that haven't and that are doing caia for the very first time, okay, let's just give you a basic intro into the paper. Let's have a quick look over here. Okay, so caia themselves, I'm just going to go through this based on the introductory sheet, okay, that we put out for the guys. Okay, caia themselves say, okay, guys, that your study time is approximately 200 hours. Now, again, that's going to depend on your past experience. Okay, what you've seen before, what you haven't seen before. Some guys are coming from prior designations, have seen other things before. Remember, a lot of guys say, what's the difference between perhaps CFA and caia? Because CFA also does alternative investments in their syllabus. Remember, CFA does it in a very, very simplistic, generalistic way, because CFA, of course, as we know, are covering a whole batch of other investment topics as well. They cover all four: equities, fixed income, alternatives, and derivatives as separate asset classes. Alternatives are just covering alternatives. So obviously the focus is much more specific, much more detailed. So obviously that's where the big difference lies. So when we say study time approximately 200 hours, again, that guys, it all depend on each person. Each one is different. Your exam is 4 hours, guys. It's 200 multiple choice questions. Okay. When we say it's a 4-hour paper, it's not really a 4-hour paper because it's 2 hours in the morning and it's 2 hours in the afternoon. And again, it's not necessarily morning or afternoon. It depends when you get your particular exam time to write. Okay. Remember, guys, it is completely computerized. Okay. You'll be writing your exam at Pearson, one of their study centers. It's completely live, online on the computers. Okay, so you must get used to answering on a computer, or just get a little bit comfortable. It's a fairly basic process. You work with a mouse, and you just click the ones that you want. So there's not a whole batch to worry about in terms of that. In addition, some guys worry about, they like to write workings and stuff. Well, what they do, they give you a pad, okay, and with that particular pad, okay, it's like a bit of a Koki, okay, and with a bit of and you write on this pad, okay, and you write, and you can do all your workings on the pad, and if you need a new pad, you get a new pad, So yeah, so you do have plenty of space to be able to work to do your workings. Of course, being a multiple choice, there's no need to show any workings, of course. So the workings are um, purely for you yourself. Okay, so if we have a look at the exam itself, okay, it's a 4-hour paper. Okay, when I say 4 hours, 2 hours to write your first paper, 2 hours to write your second paper. You've got a 30-minute break in between when you can leave the exam room. There's a bit of time after each paper to give comments. Interesting enough, Kai's the only one that actually allows comments as well of the designations, and you comment on whether you found any questions incorrect, you found anything ambiguous or anything like that, and they take that into account in their marking. Most people don't find too much to write in that little 10-minute section of commentary. But what's very important to remember, guys, if we have a brief look, the maths is fairly simple to do. Okay, you've got 100 multiple choice questions. You've got 2 hours. That's 120 minutes. That's 72 seconds. Okay, per multiple choice question. That's quick. That's quick. So we'll go through it closer to the time as well as we move through the specific syllabus. But you've got to move very quickly through it. Very doable to do 100 multiple choice questions in the 2 hours that you've got allocated. They're not crazily long. Okay, but we'll go through it and we'll explain to you exam technique as we get closer, as we go through the syllabus and closer, of course, to exam time. There's very specific exam techniques that we're going to have to focus on to try to get you through 100 multiple choice questions in 2 hours. But as I say, again, very doable, but does require a fair measure of exam technique. Okay. When you look at what they call the exam window runs from 31 August to 11 September. Okay. And what that means is that's the exam time that they've allocated to the caia level 1 guys to write. Now, what that means is you can write on any of those days. Okay. However, you must remember, particularly for the guys writing locally here in Johannesburg, okay, and those writing internationally as well. Okay, Pearson is the exam, the place where you're going to be writing the exam, have got a certain number of seats available. You know, so 10, 12 seats in their particular exam center, some may be more, some may be less. Now, once those seats are taken, that exam on that day is closed. Okay, so you're then going to have to move to another day. Okay, of course, I'll make sure there's a day available for you. But remember, the earlier, and just important to remember that you guys need to do essentially two registrations. Okay, EdgeFit, we of course, as I'm sure you guys know by now, are the prep provider. We work essentially on behalf of caia Association. We don't represent them, but we offer training for caia. That's the one, almost a registration type process. But remember, your first step is obviously to register with caia Association themselves, and you register with them via their on the internet, okay, on their website. And once you've registered with them, okay, very, very important. What you've then got to do, everyone registers with them and then thinks that that's all that you've got to do. There's a second stage within the registration process for caia, okay, and that is to book your exam. You've got to book an exam. It's interesting. It's the only designation of the three that we offer, CFA, FRM, and caia, where you have to actually book an exam. Okay, book your exam sitting. And the reason for that, of course, guys, is because they've got certain dates, and you can pick your date. Now, the earlier you come, the later you're going to pick your exam. I assume gives you a bit more time to study. So when you log on to book your exam, you'll say, okay, I want 11th of September. They'll say, well, let me show you what dates are available, may or may not be. If you register very, very late, probably the only date available to you will be the 31st of August, and you'll probably be writing just under 2 weeks earlier than the guys that got in early. So my advice, if you can, and you know you want to write this paper and you're all in, is jump in as early as you can, register the caia, and book your exam date as close to the 11th of September as possible to give you the longest possible exam time to study. Okay. That's your basic intro, guys. We're moving on over here. just one point before we carry on, just to mention, when you speak about the study time of 200 hours, we'll speak about it again as we go through this introduction, guys. How much time do you need to put in? And I always tell the guys that it doesn't really, it's not, an exact science, of course. Everybody will be different, but the key, okay, the key is the one of the C's. I'll show you all the C's when we come to the end of it, okay? The one key that I do like to focus on, and the big C, is the consistency, okay? And what that means, guys, is a consistent work. Now, it doesn't mean a lot of guys try and get, and some guys can. It's not the approach that we advocate. Some of the guys try, like right at the end, and they try and jump in and do the 200 hours in a month. And maybe doable, maybe not. Not something that it's not something that we like to teach the guys. We talk about a consistent approach. Every single day, from the time you register for caia until the time you write your exams, you do some work every day. And now, it could be an hour a day. Okay, if you can find an hour in your day, that's great. Early mornings, late at night, everybody works different. Everyone's got different rhythms, different clocks. Work when works best for you. Okay, but it's the consistent work. It's the every day. It's that just damning consistency. Half an hour a day, an hour a day, every day. Put some work into caia, and that will be your recipes for success. Don't focus overly on exactly the amount of hours. Just make sure you're doing something every single day, and just keep up the work. Okay, just very briefly, guys, if we look over here, okay, let's look at our topic weightings. Okay, and I'm going to mention over here for the guys specifically, this is for the guys that I'll do the comparison for you guys, the difference between what we saw in the March paper to what we're going to see now in the September paper. Now, as you can see, okay, for those that are focusing, that have seen this one time already, you'll notice there's only 6 topics. Okay, the 7th topic that was there in September has been removed, was risk management. Okay, risk management and portfolio management. That's gone. Okay, that was there in the past. That was there in the past for between 5 and 10%. That's gone. Okay, so obviously what you can see then with the remaining 6 topics, which are exactly as they were, when I say they're exactly as they were, they're the same topic. We'll see there's differences, of course, within them. Okay, within those particular topics, guys, the weightings have now changed. For example, if I'll just give you one by way of example. If I put another column for you over there, and we're going to call this column the March, what the weightings were in March, this would have been, for example, ethics would have been 15 to 20%. You can see because we've dropped the topic, that's gone 15 to 25. For those that the famous, what we call the intro sections, the crazy intro, that's worth close to 28%. I've never seen an intro that's worth that many marks. That's gone. It was 20 to 25. It's gone 20 to 28. And then obviously all the others have increased as well. What they've done, they've given us a little bit more guidance over here on real assets and hedge funds, because previously those two, the weightings was both 10 to 20%. They've narrowed them a little bit, put them within a bit of a more distinct range. Okay, and private equity used to, obviously you can see, is the big winner over here in the new syllabus. It used to be 5 to 10. It is now 11 to 17. So it's quite a significant increase for private equity. And structured products was 10 to 15. It's more or less the same as it was before in the past. Okay, so those that are focused and want to see the difference between where it was in March and where it is now in September, that is your breakdown. Okay, so unlikely to be too many changes in terms of the in terms of the actual weightings, but there have been changes to take into account that one big topic has now gone: risk management and portfolio management. And yeah, if we have a look at the some of the changes over here within the specific topic, let's have a look at those on a step-by-step basis, and let's look at some of those changes. Okay, at this point, I just want to briefly shift across. Okay, to another one of our sheets over here, just to show you a little bit more detail of what's in each of these specific topics. If we just have a quick look over here, guys, okay, ethics, okay, which we know the topic ratings to be 15 to 25, guys, carbon copy from the March paper. No changes at all. Ethics is a lovely section, guys. It's a section that we're going to start off with, and it's a section where we've really got to try and score as high as possible. No great amount of complications. Not easy, but marks where we can score, and the marks are quite high for ethics. What's interesting about the ethics section, guys, ethics is carbon copy from the CFA. No difference. The only difference, of course, in the ethics from the CFA and what we do over here in caia is you don't see standard 7 over here for caia, because caia that relates specifically to CFA programs and CFA exam testing and use of the CFA designation. So, of course, that doesn't form part of what we see over here in caia. That's been dropped. Okay. What's interesting over here, guys, as we move to the intro section, okay, in terms of the intro section, okay, big stuff, 20 to 28%. What's interesting over here, guys, is that it has dropped in weighting, just not in weighting, in topics. There used to be 9 topics, okay, and now they've moved down. They've just taken one off at the back end over here, but essentially the same stuff. But the trick that you've got to just be focused on, if you are seeing this for a second time and you did go through the March syllabus, within each of these little things, there may be little nuances, learning outcomes that have been added, learning outcomes that have been removed. You need to focus quite on those, because you might find you starting to do questions and say, well, why is that? I didn't see it in the notes. I did see it in the notes. Stuff has been removed, even though, for example, like you look over here, let's pick on chapter number 1. What is an alternative investment? It's the same topic, the same exactly how it was written in the March paper, but there are little changes that have been taken in and little changes that have been taken out. You do need to focus on those. And of course, as I said on the back end, one of them have been removed. There used to be 2.9, there used to be another one. Okay. Real assets seems like it's quite similar. No real changes over there. Hedge funds, again, hedge funds, big section, 12 to 20%, guys. Big section in caia level 1 and a much bigger section in caia level 2. It's a section, of course, that we really want to put our focus and our work into. Private equity, interesting that they've upped the weightings, but they've kept the topics exactly the same as they were before. But a bit of some free stuff where we can try and pick up a few extra marks over there. And structured products the same as it was before. So in the past, okay, they used to have slightly more topics. Okay, remember we've dropped 4 topics. Sorry, we've dropped 4. We used to have a topic 7, which had 4 readings to it. We've dropped 1 over here. So you can see there has been a little bit, the syllabus has been reduced just a little bit then from what it was in the March paper, but nothing really to write home about. Because remember, what's taken out over here, you're probably going to be encountering when you write caia level 2 in March 2021. So it's all fair. What they've taken out, they're going to put back somewhere later on. Okay, we move back to our this first page that we were dealing with previously. Okay, those that are new to designations. Okay, in other words, you haven't seen anything relating to CFA, PAPS, or FRM. The calculated policies, the Texas Instruments, BA2 Plus, or the professional. Okay, and the reason I make that the calculated policy, and you're going to say to me, but can't you use the Hewlett Packard, the HP, the 12C, that oblong looking one? Yes, you can. Okay, but we don't teach off that. Okay, neither do any of the other providers to the best of my knowledge. So obviously, if you are starting this or you're doing CFA and you've got a Texas, well, that's what we really would like you to either get or to carry on with. We look at your textbooks, guys. Moving down, in terms of the textbooks, okay, Standards of Practice Handbook. Okay, that's a carbon copy of the CFA one. Okay, and obviously, as you can see, I've only given you standards 1 to 6. The CFA book goes till 7. We don't do the 7th one for caia, as I mentioned previously. The big difference over here, guys, okay, if you look at all of those, there's intro, real assets, hedge funds, private equity, structured products, all from over there, guys. Okay, the big difference over here, okay, is that they are all looking at the fourth 2020 edition. Okay, previously it was the third edition. Now the golden question that everyone's going to ask is, do you need to buy this textbook? Now, I don't want to fight with caia, of course, because they are very good to us and they are an outstanding organization, and the designation is even finer and very, very valuable to put onto your CVs and to get. Of course, the knowledge is outstanding. But the way we structure our notes, guys, and the way what we at Edge do is we structure our notes sufficient to cover everything in the textbook. In addition, we're going to give you tons and tons of questions. We're going to give you videos to watch, etc., etc. Classes for those that attend classes, some and practice exams on the back end as well. My sense is I wouldn't, everyone starts off and is very excited and they buy the textbook, and then often just sits on the shelf. If there are specific, where the textbook is nice sometimes is to the extent that there's a topic you want to read over a little bit more in detail. It's a lovely textbook. I've got nothing against the textbook by any means. It's a lovely textbook. It's a well-written textbook. But sometimes, and you might want to just go over some sections in more detail. But generally speaking, we find the guys don't have that kind of time. If you were writing caia without a prep provider like ourselves or any of the others, then yes, I would say buy the book, of course. But if you are and you're using prep provider notes, videos, anything like that, my sense is I think you're gonna your book will sit on the shelf. Okay, just a bit of comfort is none of our guys buy the textbook. Okay, and all the guys get through. I think we've had one guy in the history of our course that has bought it, and it's looking very new. He actually brought it to me the other day just to have I wanted to look up something, and it's looking very, very new. Okay, so buying of the textbook, completely up to you. Okay, there's the other little book bits and pieces, guys, that caia do give you. They give you a copy of the Standards Practice Handbook. Again, no sense in reading that. It's long, it's detailed. Obviously, we summarize that for you in the notes, so you've got all of that. There's the textbook. We've spoken about whether or not you want to purchase that, not necessary. Then they give you 3 other things as well: a candidate handbook, a workbook, and a study guide. Freely downloadable off the website. My suggestion is that you do download them. They're lovely to have a look at those. And we don't work much. The workbook is lovely. There's some nice questions that they put out as well. We don't work much with that. And the handbook and the study guide give you a lot of direction in terms of what's in the syllabus, what's not. But again, we give you all of that anyway. It's nice that they are nice to have, and they're free. You can just download them straight off the caia website. Guys, we have a look over here and we talk about the approach to work. Okay, we mentioned the 4 C's. If you remember a little bit earlier, okay, we spoke about the first C, which we called the consistency. Okay, that it's really, really about just the consistent work. It's the everyday work. That's what we talk about as our first C. It's not so much the hours that you put in, but the first C, we talk about the consistency, that you're going to be working all the time. Every day you put in some hours, and that is going to be your secret to your success. The second C, we talk about it being commitment. Okay, so it's only one T, the commitment. Okay, and of course, if any of these designations, be it CFA, be it caia, FRM, anything that you do, particularly with these levels of designations, level of difficulty, without commitment, it's a non-starter. But next is concentration. It's an interesting one. People also say, why did I put this one in? Okay, and the reason why I talk about concentration is we always talk about, a lot of guys put a lot of work in, get back from work at 9, 10 o'clock at night. I know you guys work in the financial markets. Okay, it's tough out there. Okay, and in terms of the concentration, is when you get home and guys say, well, I've got to have a 9 o'clock and I put in 3 hours till 12 o'clock, and sure, I've got 3 hours of work done, and tick, 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 tick. My sense is it's always better when you talk about concentration to put in good hours. I would far rather you put in a strong 1 hour, okay, a focused 1 hour, a concentrated 1 hour, than just sitting on at your desk and just trying to get hours and hours in, if they are not good hours, and you're too tired to work and you're just too exhausted. Work's been so. I always tell the guys, if you come home from work and you're exhausted, you're completely broken, is put in 10 minutes, put in half an hour. If you feel good or get up early the next morning, put in your hour. If you need to have an hour, half an hour sleep on the couch, get back to work if you can. Whatever works for you, but just try as much as you can that the hours that you're putting in are concentrated, focused, good hours. Because you'll find one good hour is better than just sitting at your desk for 3 hours without much focus. The last C is the calm. Okay, guys, it's just an exam. Okay, it's not life and death. Okay, there are much bigger issues out there. Okay, yes, it'd be lovely to get it first time. Okay, and it's very doable, of course, but everybody just needs to just remember, just take a deep breath. Sometimes when it's getting too much for you, take a deep breath and just take a day off, perhaps if you need to. However happens to be, don't take more than a day off or two. Then you're going to be violating my consistency rule. But just take a bit of time off and just keep calm, relax, and breathe. Okay. In terms of exams, the equations on the exam, they do give you a short list of equations, not many, guys. The majority of the equations, unfortunately, need to be learnt. We're going to show you how to do that as well. Okay. caia provide a workbook plus an online exam. Okay. It's a lovely exam that they provide. It's online. Okay. Don't be looking at that just yet, guys. We'll look at that exam that they provide closer to exam time, get practice then, because remember, you haven't covered all the sections yet. So, okay, MCQs, okay, may comprise 3 or 4 possible ABC or D. Depends. caia is the only one that actually gives you a little bit of both. CFA goes ABC, FRM goes ABCD, and caia goes somewhere in between. Sometimes they're ABCs and sometimes they go through till D as well. Okay. Not sure how this one found its way in here because there's not much in terms of vignettes, but often sometimes what they do is they'll give you a little bit of a story or a vignette, an item set, and you can have 2 or 3 questions based on that. So it could be the following information relates to questions 1, 2, and 3, and they use the same information for the multiple choices. Okay, pass mark 70%, and don't fall off your chest just yet. That's the guaranteed pass mark. caia is the only designation that actually come out and say if you get 70%, okay, then that's a pass, guaranteed pass. If you get 65, we're not saying anything about that. My sense is that it's probably a pass as well, but it's not guaranteed. Okay, so the pass mark is guaranteed at 70, but maybe lower. Okay, we don't know what any of the designations pass marks are. That's why we try and work on 70, which is a tall order, a very tall order. If you're looking at you've got 200 multiple choice questions and you need to get 70% overall, you've got to pass 140 of them. You've really got to be on top of your game. And generally, results are made available 3 weeks after the exam window closes. So if I take you back a page over here, the exam window closes 11th of September. That's over there. Put it over there. Within 3 weeks after the close, you'll get your results. Okay, and guys, that's the basic intro to the particular exam that you're going to be writing, caia level 1. So we're going to move straight from here, straight on to the topic number 1. We cover both. We cover professional standards and ethics. Okay, it only takes us about 2 classes to cover that, and we'll start with that first. Remember, guys, if you look at the weighting for that, it's 15 to 25%. It's a lovely weighting, not too crazy. And the one thing to remember about ethics, which we'll repeat in the lecture, of course, as well, and again, is that ethics comes up again, carbon copy in caia level 2. Very, very worthwhile your time and your effort to get ethics right in caia level 1, because you get it for free then in level 2 because you've studied it nicely in level 1. Guys, we're going to move on to topic 1, professional standards and ethics.